kiss and hug me. Come on, strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say, if you want to be more than friends, got some love I'd like to make. Maybe you can squeeze me out.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Marketing Momentum with Charles and Deborah. Hi, Charles.
Hello, Deborah. Hello, everybody.
How's your week been? I know it's been a busy week.
It has been a busy week, and I have lost a high school student, and I've gained an employee. So it's pretty exciting and a little scary at the same time. So my daughter is going to be joining me in another day or so, full time, and so we're going to be training her for the next month, and then really getting her into the nuts and bolts of what we do, and then hopefully now I will be able to do more, and be able to kind of get out more as they handle some of the things that just logistically I've had to do. And so really, her graduation has been all this week. But again, I'm pretty excited about having her. So
that's like a win-win. I mean, it is change, and change is always a little tricky, but that's a win-win. She wins, you win, the family wins, all the viewers, all the listeners win.
It is, right. And even though what I just said really sounded like my press agent wrote it, and she's kind of had her, I think we're all pretty excited about it. It's going to take a while, and to kind of go from, sort of, dad to her boss effectively. But again, I'm kind of looking forward to it. So.
Excellent. And she's already done some work for you, so she gets the dad/boss thing already, correct?
Yeah, no, she has, and she's done support for me. On information products, and she has handled the help desk, and she's called people back, so all that stuff she's done before. And she's going to kind of also be semi-supervising my younger daughter in some things too. So again, this is going to we're going to try to expand her role, give her some real responsibility. I don't want her shuffling papers, right? I want her to really do something. And, I told her that I don't care if she screws it up. I'd rather her screw it up than scared to make a mistake and not do anything. So I may regret saying that, but that's the way I feel.
Hey, you'll have some more content for another book too. And can I get this? Taking Your Talent to Main Street. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Taking Your Talents to Main Street. That's right. Yeah. There may be another book after that, right? Yeah.
Hiring your daughter. No. Hey, you had a incredible. Well, you always have incredible radio shows, but I really enjoyed the one yesterday. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, Tim Berkwin, and Tim Berkwin actually he has a site that that's called Trader Interviews, and what that site is, to break it down, is that's what it is. He's done interviews with traders, stock traders, and so he's created basically a premium level of content, for other traders. So he finds some of the best in the business in terms of day trading, in terms of people who work on the actual floors of the exchanges, and people who have strategies where they're either making money for other people or they're able to do it for themselves. So now he's been able to leverage kind of his knowledge of the people and the relationships he's built to find the best traders with these, I don't know how else to call it, some off-the-wall strategies that kind of work. I don't know that realm as well as I know some others, but some of the things that he's kind of allowed people to learn have really helped them, his membership. So he's taken that and he's turned it into a membership, which is really, I just think is really cool. So last night he was sharing, I think, about 5 or 6 years worth of insight doing that. And so when he comes and he talks about monetizing content, right? He's not writing a blog post about 5 easy ways to monetize your content and giving you these tips. He's really coming from this place of, hey, he's really coming from a place of somebody who's done it and somebody who's kind of learned some things, and then he's got really strong, passionate feelings about how one needs to do it. And so the call was short, but I say that out of a lot of the interviews I have ever done, it was really one of the best in terms of practical experience and nuts and bolts. And he really kind of, I just really broke down, how you can really take this idea of content, really helping people, but at the same time, though, giving yourself an income so that you can continue to help people. So yeah, I really enjoy. I don't know what do you think?
I loved it. And actually this morning I started the steps towards having premium content as far as podcasts and actually putting it into practice, what he suggested. I love the tip where he said, have something to purchase on your website and not just free. Because Charles, you and I were just talking about, what was it, 2 episodes back, about this whole free idea, and then people come back. And it's funny because Tim actually said something like this, where it's like, wait, why are you charging me? This is supposed to be free. And if you have something that's paid from the beginning, you may not get that reaction.
Yeah, and it's kind of the direct opposite that I think, we're kind of wired, and people are wired in general, because again, I mean, he kind of got the idea that you want to, and I guess, and I understand the mentality that until you become a somebody, right, you've got to give the value to prove that you're somebody, and then you can then ask for, something in return. But what he's saying is you got to let people know that this is not a charity, right? That this is how you earn, that you're going to help them, but then the way you're going to be able to help them is that he's going to make some things available for you to buy. And I think that is just a critical piece, even if you are a helper, right? And I think we have both figured out that probably some of the people that are going to be attracted to this, just kind of based on, your personality, maybe my personality, they're going to come just kind of based on that, being having again, I really need to look this up. I keep referring to it as ISTJ, and I really don't know if that's what it is or not. So
it kind of sounds
I
like
need to look that up, but it sounds cool though, right? So yeah, I think it sounds like really knowledgeable, but I think for people who are like that, you just want to feel like, and I don't know who started this. If I just keep giving everything away, then people will, the connection is supposed to be, people will realize how wonderful I am, and they will come to me and they will wonder what else I have that's really good, and then they will come and buy all that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of noise out there, and we've talked about it on our show before, which is somebody will come in there with something and they will make the offer to them while they come to you for the free stuff, and they will buy from somebody else.
Yep, exactly. They'll think of you as a source for free information that will augment what they're paying for from the better person that must be better because they're charging money for it.
Right, yeah. And so Tim, I think one of the things I really appreciated about what he was sharing last night is, again, from a practical standpoint, I think a lot of us, okay, even just the whole idea of pricing. When am I gonna? Because again, we're talking about ones and zeros, right? So we've got to put a value on that. Well, what is the value? Is it $97? Is it $9? Is it $15? Is it what I think I can get you to pay? What is the value? How do you determine that? And what does your market, what can they pay, or what are they willing to pay? And so I think that he kind of worked through that honestly. And he showed us, he kind of talked about it on the call in a real honest way, that, a lot of this is really kind of testing to see what's going to work with your audience. So, what do you think about that? What do you think of this whole idea of value?
I liked how he described that. His thinking on this, that what was he talking about? Like $40 a month, or the lifetime. I'm trying to remember his cost. He's like $25 per episode or $40 per month for access, or the lifetime access. And I actually like how simplified he made it. And he's kind of funneling people through, saying, this is if you really want this information, this lifetime membership or even the 1-year access is the one that makes sense for you. So you have access to all of the 100 episodes that he has. And I like how he explained that. Now I tried to apply that sort of what I was working through pricing this morning with different ideas. And I came up with this concept of, because I have the $9.97, $4.97 Hangout Queen full. I hold your hand,
right.
I talk to you. I don't live with you, but I mean, practically to that level, really helping you have success. But there's a lot of people that just can't afford that. And I want to help them. See, there's the helper. I want to help them. So I thought, well, how about take Deborah to coffee? See, coffee, Social Web Cafe. Take Deborah to coffee once a week. So I'm thinking, like 75 cents. So then you come up with a monthly plan. I know it's lower than, for example, what Tim was suggesting, but like you said, Charles, you have to consider your audience and what are you going for on that one. I'm going for tips, actionable tips that people can implement on Hangouts rather than, an hour-long interview with a trader and making money. So there are two different audiences, obviously.
Right. Yeah, because, with a trader, they're probably going to need, now what I do remember, what I know enough about is they're going to need to know the whole system, because 5 minutes and they could be out $100,000 if they don't have the system right.
Yeah.
Most of us, when it comes to doing Hangouts or even podcasting or internet radio, it tends to be like the one thing that we get stuck on, and that we're working on it for like an hour, and we're just thinking, this is ridiculous. I'm going to try to find somebody who knows about this, who can show me the one thing that's going to kind of take me beyond the one thing. So it's almost as if I think you would almost have to have that. I think you've got the right idea, because everybody can get up to a certain point, and then there's always the one kind of little sticker that kind of keeps you from moving on. And I think that might actually help them to want to, make the move and go ahead and actually, pull out their card or pull out their PayPal and actually buy something.
Well, I think, you just made me think of something as far as this idea with this kind of lesser cost audio version of Hangout training, if you will. Obviously, I'm going to upsell. I want you to come to my site. I want you to pay me $4.97 or $9.97 for the full program. But for those people that maybe don't need as much hand-holding, just need, like you said, just that little, where they're a little stuck. They just need to get over that edge. Maybe that, 30 minutes of tips will help them, and they'll save some money while they're doing it. That helper is coming in, Charles.
That's no doubt. Right. No, right. But how many times do all of us, and this is, I think it's endemic, in the internet world, is we go 30 or 40 minutes in Google trying to find the right person. And you find one, you find one source and they didn't quite get it right. And then you find the next person they're on page 3, and you find out, well, they were just writing this just to write a blog post. They didn't finish it the whole way. And you just think, what, this is stupid. I need to find somebody who can tell me what to do. And I think that's where this whole idea of monetization comes. And for those of us who know, Hangouts, right? And so I guarantee you there's somebody, or lots of somebodies, who are fumbling around trying to figure out the lower third. Like, how do they get that? How do they get that name down there? Exactly. What is it? And they're clicking all over the place looking for this. And then you've got it, and you're going to be able to tell them, and it takes them 5 minutes to figure it out. And I think that's all information marketing, right? You can find free information everywhere on everything, but the value that you and I bring in whatever it is that we're talking about is we're bringing it because we have organized, and I can't remember who said this, good information marketers organize the internet. so that you don't have to go searching the whole thing. And so you have organized the internet according to Hangout. So I don't have to go looking everywhere. I don't have to wait until you show up here, right? I don't have to wait until Deborah shows up live. I can go to Hangout Queen. I can get you on Skype. But really the idea is, I might not be able to. You're on the, if you go to Singapore, right, for a week, and I can't get you, and I need to know this thing, I need to know it now. Well, I can't wait for you to get on Skype. I got to be able to find it. And the fact that I can go to Hangout Queen, find out what it is, get it done, and start moving. And, let's say if I'm producing a Hangout for somebody, I got to know, and I got to be able to get it and know it quickly in order to make it happen. And I think that's what all of us, to some degree, if we can kind of get that, I think that's what raises the value. That, okay, you know what? This is organized. I know exactly where it is. I know exactly what it's going to tell me. I know how it's going to benefit me. I don't have to think about it. That's worth $500, especially if I produce a Hangout that's going to be $1,000 for somebody else, that's a client.
Exactly, because right there you've profited 50%, but then it's pure profit after that. Good point. From last week on the Actionable Authority, and I'm dying to hear what you have to say about like the 2 case studies or the 2 examples. And I was trying to catch up and read, like I can really read a whole book in one morning. Shame on me that I just got it this morning. Trust me, I'm lying. By the way, there's some, how shall I say, nasty reviews on the Amazon page on that one. Did you read those?
Yeah, I did. Right. And I think, that was, and interestingly, this guy is one of the few. I don't even answer all of my emails. This guy, if you send him an email, he'll answer it. Right. So and I guess he's got a gazillion fans and a gazillion people who write to him. But if you write to him and you say, hey, what do you think about this? He will send you an email right back and kind of give you, and not a detailed explanation, but he kind of interacts. One of the things that I think that he has been trying to create, and he creates this, and the point that he's making, he's illustrating, which is, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, right? It doesn't matter if people hate it, and it doesn't matter if people love it. Just the fact that they're paying attention. And so what he's been able to do is to create, he has understood what monetizing means in that sphere. Naturally, all of us want to be able to give information, help people improve. At some level, though, that's not necessarily always what's going to pay the bills. Sometimes it just really is a matter of getting people's attention. Now, when as an example of what it means to take your authority and to use it and to make it actionable, the idea of the book was, here's a guy who was an insider to understand how blogs, and I guess if you're a blogger and you're sort of listening to this and you're sort of watching this, you may hate everything he's got to say, but what he's got to say about how this information gets traded up the chain in blogs is worth, if you don't read anything else, that's worth your time to really take a look at and read. It's absolutely fascinating, because I think all of us know that we may not like politics. I don't personally. But their information chain is out of the world from a pure blogging standpoint. They have this thing right. I don't probably lean any other way, but I know that if you take a look at what the Huffington Post does in terms of traffic, or Breitbart, or any of those other blogs, doesn't matter whether or not they, whether or not you with them, they know how to bring traffic and how to move that traffic in a way that generates income at some level. Now, having said that, he's talked about being an insider in learning how that whole process works. How do you take information so that it rolls through the blogs that people pay attention to, and it actually brings people, brings the bloggers who have a desire to be seen on the basis of their self-interest, the blogs who have a desire to get an audience on the basis of their self-interest, and then the person who has information that would not have been seen otherwise, who has his own self-interest, how the person that you think doesn't control the process, it's not the blogger that controls the process. It's not the blog that controls the process. It's this person that starts out with this information at the bottom of the chain and works it so that it rolls up the chain. Now, negative, it's not the best example of what you need to do, but here's what he's done. He's understood a process, right, that nobody really fully understands. And in the age of the internet, right, what makes, if you've ever read, or anybody's ever read Malcolm Gladwell, the first time they heard the concept of 10,000 hours making you an expert, right, a lot of us, that was the first time I'd ever heard that, right? It was the first time I'd ever heard that, and a lot of people, their eyes were open. Well, this is what takes somebody from kind of small to large, regardless of, and break it down and make it simple, the inside. That's where your authority comes from, right? Everybody has this thing that they think they understand, but then they see something and they really don't really fully understand it. If you're the one that makes it doable and makes it understandable, that's authority, right? And if you give people and you empower people and you think what was complicated and you really broke it down, whether or not you give scientific examples, as is the case with Gladwell, or you give practical examples, as is the case of Ryan
Holiday.
Mm-hmm. He basically broke this whole thing down, and nobody likes it. Yeah, Holiday. Nobody likes the way blogs really work. He's saying that you've got people up there, and they're typing, and they're thinking, I'm really getting my message out there, and they're sort of relying on this, on being, on having integrity and having people read and go into the search engines, when it's not how it works, right? And so there's this whole other world in blogging that's really operating independent of search engines, and it's really getting people to come decide on, it's getting people to your site because they want to come there, right? None of those sites that he's talking about in there, people don't read those sites because they found an article on the search engine or it came to them in Google News. They're reading it because they wake up in the morning and someplace in their brain they're thinking, right, they're thinking, I got to go to this site today. It's in them. It's like, just like they turn on their television channel. And so if you talk about, well, what's the goal of that you want to get in terms of being an information marketer or blogger or whatever? Well, you want people to want to come to your site, and you don't want them to have to find you, right? You don't have to trip over you because they were on their way to solve their problem. You want them to come because they want to, because they like what they get there, or they don't like what they get there, or they can't wait to get there because they want to argue about something, or they want to get something because they want to find out what that other, what those other nasty people are doing. That matters what Ryan Holiday is saying. So here's the negative example is basically Ryan Holiday is basically telling you blogs work in a way that really understood it, right? You do it totally differently, right? And so it's a negative example. And he's saying that if you're going about this and you're trying to position yourself on the search engines and you're doing all this stuff, basically, and he said this, you're basically a fool. Right, is what he's saying, and that's hard.
I appreciate that it says
kind of hard to read. He said, you're wasting. And he said that all the people who are doing the work and doing it, writing their blogs and researching, they're suckers in the thing. And that, I mean, it's wild to read. But when you see the examples, he's bringing anecdotes, right, and he's bringing statistics, and he's talking about it from an insider's perspective, right, and so. At the bottom of the chain, he's saying, I will use all these people to get my message where I want it to be. And they will take that and they will gladly do my bidding, right, based on their self-interest and get me where I want to go. And then they'll still be, again, I guess, they'll still be kind of struggling to get what it is that they truly want. And so that's sort of on the one hand, what I consider to be a negative case study. On the other end, we talked about Tim a little bit yesterday, and I sort of want to get back to that based on this article that I found in my alumni magazine.
That's right, you did reference that. Hey, while you're pulling that up, you reminded me of something that's probably unrelated. You can tell me it's unrelated, but it just keeps popping in my head while you're talking. I remember hearing a preacher say one time that all politicians, there's no such thing as a 100% like pure white as snow politician. And like somehow the goodness in it, we want to think that, oh, I want to vote for this person because they're just like, well, not that there's any human being that's 100% good, but I mean, you want to think all good, they're going to do good for the people. And he said the only way to get to that is to have some level of, for lack of any other term, slime. I mean, I don't want to say that, and I have some favorite politicians, but I've thought about that, and I thought, I don't want to hear what he has to say. But since then, I start looking at and even corporate America, there is some level of slime, if you will, to get to a point where you have influence. And you have to kind of balance that. Do I climb that corporate ladder so that I can have a positive influence on people? And the same thing with politicians. Maybe they're good. They want to climb that political ladder so that it can help the people. But you get some kind of like slime on you while you're on your way up. And I don't like hearing that, but it seems to prove true.
And some of us aren't willing to do that. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think and you know, you're a refugee, right? You're a cubicle refugee. And yep. So you get to a point where you kind of feel like, well, how much more of this do I want to do? Or how much do I want to do to get, you know, for me, when I was at the bank, it was to become, you know, I had become an officer. What do I have to do to be an AVP? Right? What do I have to do to be a VP? What's the next thing that I got to do? And there was always a little bit of stuff that you just would not want anybody else to know that you did mm-hmm. in order to have it. Right? And so I think ultimately, you know, we really come back and we're you know, again, in this information marketing business, we're trying to build authority, and really the only way that we can do that successfully, right, without having to do that, I think is kind of to back up from the process to understand what is it that people are willing to pay for. People are willing to pay for those of us who can take something that's, for somebody, complicated, and willing to break it down and to make it understandable, bite-sized, whatever it is, brain dead simple, and people will pay for that. And it's not necessarily that it's going to make them rich. It's not necessarily going to make them famous, but it's just that they're struggling to understand something. And that's why much of this, we first started internet marketing, is somebody said, well, you know, it's really complicated to get $100,000, you know, and not having to work hard. Of course it is. But I'm going to show you how to do it, and you're not going to have to push for it. People will pay that all day long, and that's the way the mm-hmm. whole thing works. Does anybody like the way that works? No, of course not. And then it's easier to sell that dream, right? People will buy that dream rather than sometimes the other thing that's a little more, it has more integrity, it's a little more real. But again, it's not integrity versus non-integrity. It's complicated versus uncomplicated. When we can yep. uncomplicate something for somebody, people will come and they will buy.
So true. Your article?
Yeah, and so man, yeah. This, and I know you'll probably you'll probably put the link up there. But this is really. And I hope, you know, if you're watching it, you have a chance. I'm not going to read it, but and it kind of goes to what we've been talking about, which is this gentleman. He's a professor at my school, or my old school, and he basically said that there's sort of these three different kinds of people in the work world. They're givers, they're takers, and then there are people who are sort of matchers. In other words, they give according to what they're going to get back. And so if you were to look at the personalities of the people who you could track their success, that the people who come last on the totem pole are the givers. The people who are in the middle are the takers and the matchers, and the people who are on the top are the givers, right?
I saw that, and it's like, huh?
Right. And so really, for those of us, again, who just have this personality and have this drive to give, and I guess what we could probably do just in the whole show, just based on discussing this one article and this one concept, because it sort of goes to what Tim was talking about last night, and at the same time, it sort of goes to, how do you do this without being a doormat? How do you give, and how do you work this whole formula so that you don't become, just an afterthought of somebody who, again, we talked about it, somebody who will go and get the information and buy something, whereas they'll come and get what you have for free. But what he's saying in here about being a giver is that I guess to become skillful at it so that it really does further your aims and further your desire and kind of helps you to rise, is that you develop something. Again, he denies the fact that you have to have you get to a certain level of expertise where you can afford to give, right? There's a place, there's something that you have where you're wealthy in, whether or not there's a knowledge in a particular niche, and you can afford to give that knowledge away because it's not necessarily going to detract from what it is that you actually do. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with that doing what we do. I think that that's part of it. I think that, again, we talked about narrowing down and really understanding something to the point where you really do have a wealth of information, you have a wealth of knowledge, you have a wealth of experience in a certain place. That lends itself to your being able to give, because, again, the knowledge can be free. The experience is what I think you can't necessarily give away in good conscience, almost, because, again, if you were to give away like half the experience you've gained, right, from doing Hangouts and producing them, that wouldn't be fair to me, right? You could tell me, you could give me tips, but it wouldn't be fair to me for you to charge me a little bit of money and have me sort of half being able to do this. You really do need to be able to say, well, look, you want to learn this, it's $4.97, it's $9.97. I understand that's a lot of money, but I can't possibly show you what you're going to need to know in order to be successful in doing what I'm asked, what you're going to be equipped to do. I don't want to give you part of it. It's not going to help you. The only way it's going to help you is for me to be able to help you all the way through, and that's going to cost a lot more. And maybe you can't do it right now, even if you want to. Maybe you've got to wait. But the point is that the monetization process is, as a giver, you sort of want to give it away, but you've got to be able to kind of to draw that line at helping people, drawing the line at helping people so that you don't give yourself away to the point where you can't help the people who really need help.
It's like I have to repeat that in my head. That makes sense.
Yeah, so maybe we should just kind of do this. Maybe we should just kind of do this article, like do one show on this article, and maybe give it to everybody at a time, and then we'll look at it. Because I really think that his book and this article, I think it's that important for, again, those of us who are kind of working through this idea of how much do I give away? How much do I give before, I start asking people for money? How much, at what point do I say, I have crossed the free line, and now it's ready, and now it's time for me to start asking for something back? And there's a whole mentality that he really describes. I can't do it justice, in 5 minutes. And when I read it, and I just read it the last couple of days, and I was so excited about it because again, it's that whole it's the dilemma. It is the dilemma, I think, for people who've got the knowledge and they've got the experience and they need to monetize it, right? They need to. It's not just a matter of, well, I'm not, I'm just doing this for fun. It's not a lot of us doing this for, just because it's fun. I mean, if we were just doing something for fun, I'd go to Maine and I'd be on the beach all day, every day. So.
Excellent. And for those of you listening or watching this video, you can find links to everything that we mentioned on the show notes. So within the video, it should be a link right there to click on show notes and to get the links that we mentioned. And of course, if you're listening, just visit socialwebcafe.tv and click on the episodes, and you can see all of them with links to all of the information that you could possibly need as it relates to marketing momentum. And in summary, Charles, okay, the 2 case studies that we promised, it sounds like what you're saying is there's what Ryan Holiday explains as far as we may not like it, but this is kind of how the world goes round. And then there's the other, which is what we're sort of taught as far as the SEO, the social sharing, and so forth, that may not hit that goal that we're really looking for, which is demonstrated in the first example that Ryan talks about. Am I summarizing that correctly?
Yeah. Yeah, and have we figured out that once we think we understand it all, everything in information marketing, and if we don't control it, right, we have no control over our business. And then if you don't have any control over your business, you don't have any control over your lifestyle, you don't have any control of what you're going to do for your family. And so it is a crucial question.
Well, thank you, Charles. I always enjoy talking with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really I look forward to this. So, yeah, and we'll be really looking forward to the next session, too.
I'm too. And thank you to all our listeners and all our viewers. And we will see you next week on the next Marketing Momentum with Charles and Deborah.
Right on. Take
care. Don't you want to kiss and hug me? Come on, strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say, if you want to be more than friends, got some love I'd like to make. Maybe you can squeeze me, I won't break. We could be in a paradise, you and me.